on the market.
What their seeds were being sold?
Yes. That was
by who?
I mean, but I'm just saying, so when there's such a major issue, then it's escalated to me, and then I go to find out. But, I'm very disappointed in the minister deliberately, because that's all I can say, deliberately twisting an inquiry by a lawyer of a client's issue to be an interference. And the thing is, this is a phone call that lasted maybe 3-4 minutes. And he said, it ended by saying, look, they shouldn't have been issued the license in the first place. So that's when we ended the conversation. But it even tells you how weak the minister's understanding of his position is. If what I did was illegitimate, why don't you take the right action? He's going to report me to the minister as if he's a teacher, and the president is a master, and I'm a school prefect, and I've done something wrong. I mean, what kind of silliness is this? I mean, I don't even want to comment on that he reported me to the president. For the president to do what?
Call you to order.
The president is a lawyer. The president is a lawyer. And he knows that lawyers are supposed to what? To protect the legitimate business of their clients. So why would the president call me on a matter like this?
That's Gabi Ochredako. He's a cousin to the president and very well-known associate of the ruling administration, reacting to the details as captured on him in this 36-page report by Professor Frimpong Boateng. Awulai Sewa is founder and coordinator of environmental group Eco-Conscious Citizens. Let's get some reactions from her to the details, and also the reactions that we've been bringing to you from some of the persons' name. Many thanks, madam, for speaking to us this afternoon. How concerning, first off, are these revelations as captured in the report, and even now so, the reactions that are coming from some of the individuals which you've been listening to in the case of Gabi?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I have to say that we are not very surprised at revelations coming out, because if you would note, we have been saying for a very long time that the fight against Galamsey is not working because he doesn't seem to have the political will. We have been saying for a while that it appears highly placed persons are either involved or complicit, and that is why the fight against Galamsey does not seem to be going as far as it should be going. So this report is maybe a vindication of some of the things that have been said in the past.
A vindication of the thing said in the past, but what does this say in terms of the concerns that you have raised, and does it really put in jeopardy, as some have suggested, all of the efforts that it appears groups like yourself have been making to ensure that at least something is done on the front of protecting the vegetation cover of this country?
Well, I would say that, it seems like this is a report, nothing has been verified, but it would seem like the cat is out of the bag. The president had said he would put his presidency on the line. We spoke when Akonta Mining entered the Kano Nimeri Forest Reserve, and no sanctions were taken. He wasn't arrested, he's not being prosecuted. We said then that it looks like there's one law for ordinary people, another for highly placed persons. So what this is doing is, hopefully, it will force the presidency to really consider whether he wants to put his presidency on the line to protect the environment, or whether it's all been talk, because we all know that talk is cheap. So we believe that this is a step in the right direction, in the sense that people are maybe waking up. Joy News did an expose a while back. Nothing has happened to the perpetrators. We saw persons who appear to be from the army guarding illegal miners. Where has that report gone? So maybe with pressure from the citizenry, we'll now sit up and decide whether or not we really are interested in fighting Galamsey and protecting our forests. And I have to say that we were disappointed when the head of the Forestry Commission said that he had no objection to mining in forest reserves. Why do we have forest reserves? Why should government or any person give licenses to mine in forest reserves? What's the point of having forest reserves. It doesn't make any sense to us.
Right. So for you, it should take the citizens pressuring the government now to do what is right so we can begin to see some action.
Yes, and the media. I mean, sections of the media like yourself have been doing an excellent job. Had it not been for the media publicizing a lot of what is going on, we might not even be getting somewhere. So we thank the media, but we think that we all have a part to play. The forests affect all of us if we understand the purpose of forests. When the last tree dies, the last man dies. So I think if we begin to understand why we have forest reserves in the first place, then we'll be more serious about protecting our forest reserves, our wetlands, and so on and so forth. Otherwise, we are doomed. And all these conferences we've been going to are a joke, because there's no point in getting around going to conferences when we come back to our country and we allow miners to enter our forest reserves and we allow construction on wetlands. We need to be serious. And currently, I'm sorry to say that I don't think that we are very serious. We are pretending to be, but not very serious.
Right then, I appreciate that you could speak to us this afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's Awula Isewa. She's founder and coordinator of environmental group Eco-Conscious Citizens, speaking to us this afternoon. We're working the telephone lines again to speak to Al-Hassan Suhini. He's Tamale North MP and member of the Lands and Forestry Committee of Parliament, who, as and when we're able to get him, will bring his reaction to you as well in relation to this particular matter on this subject. But we'll move away from this and bring you some other matters here on the news on 3FM 92.7. We're taking you to the Ashanti region now because there's some unfortunate news, and the police there, they've launched a manhunt for the killer of a 26-year-old lady at a dome in Kumasi. The lady, whose name has only been given as Mami Ajua, was shot multiple times on Thursday night by the suspect, who's also been only named as Tony, a.k.a. Tagore. An eyewitness who saw a heated argument moment before the deceased was seen said the killer was her alleged boyfriend after he accused her of cheating. And William Evans Inkum, he's joining us on the telephone line with a lot more details. Evans, what more have we gathered over this rather unfortunate incident?
Well, so the police has invited the principal witnesses and also relatives of the deceased or the victim to help them gather relevant information that will lead them to unraveling this whole mystery and also help them understand or trace the steps of the killer, who happens to be the boyfriend of Majua. So currently, that is what is happening at the moment. Police gathering relevant information to aid them in investigation.
But what have eyewitnesses been saying as to what exactly they saw in the lead up to this incident?
So the incident happened, according to an eyewitness, the incident happened last night around 10 p.m. There was some discrete argument between the victim and the killer, whose name has been given as Tony or Tagore. They were having some level of argument, and according to one of the eyewitnesses, he heard the victim pleading that she is not cheating as the killer has been hearing about. So in the course of that argument, there was a gunshot. First gunshot, second, third, and that drew the attention of those who were actually around. So they rushed there only to find the victim in a pool of blood. And they quickly informed the police. The police came around. About 5 empty shells were retrieved before the lifeless body of the victim was conveyed to the Kofanology Teaching Hospital. The police came back to do further, collection of relevant, evidence. And then another empty shell was also retrieved. So in all, about 6 shots were fired at close range at the victim before he gave out the ghost. Immediately after that, the suspect, who happens to be the boyfriend of the victim, left the scene and is now a fugitive.
Right, then, William Evan Sinkum, my colleague in the Ashanti Regional Bureau Chief in the northern part of the country, providing details there for us. You're listening to the news here on 3FM 92.7. Stories we've been bringing to you. Some persons captured in the 36-page report by former Minister of Environment, Science and Technology, Professor Frimpong Boateng, begin challenging the details of the report. Some have threatened to take legal action should he not render an unqualified apology. Later on in the bulletin, we'll take you to the coastal part of the Volta region where incident of tidal waves there again appears to have affected lives and property. We'll be there shortly to bring you details. But in the meantime, on some police-related matters, and the police in Nakbanduri have arrested 3 persons suspected to be part of criminals attacking commuters within the area, and Nalerugu and Walewale in the northeast region in recent times. These are crimes ostensibly linked to the ongoing violence connected to the Boko conflict. On Monday, a cargo truck loaded with cattle was attacked by the unknown men in the Walewale township in the northeast region, leaving scores of persons in the cargo truck injured. And so, as and when there's a lot more, we'll provide details for you. But like I mentioned, we're taking you to the coastal areas of the Volta region now, because tidal wave has displaced residents in Keta and Anglo municipalities in the Volta region. Reports reaching us indicates that the incident along the coast in the Keta municipality of the region has displaced hundreds of residents, and the communities include Vume, Anglo, among others. Let's speak to the MP for the area, Kwame Tujoli Gakpe, who's joined us on the telephone lines right now. Many thanks, Honorable. What are the details as you've been informed by persons within the constituency?
Thank you very much, and then good afternoon to your listeners and the viewers on the social media. As I speak to you, I'm speaking directly from the constituency. I think these tidal wave issues have been a perennial issue we have been battling with for ages. The issue boils down to commitment from the government. As I speak to you, last year the same issue happened. We have to fall on corporate bodies, benevolent people, NGOs to come to our aid. But as I speak to you, the same problem have reoccurred. And then when you look at Keta Central, Keji Copper, Abuja Copper, Dupese Copper, communities along the coast have been devastated. I mean, tidal wave have actually destroyed people's property and all that. And then as I speak to you, people are in pool of water. So the permanent solution to this problem is government have to commit resources in solving this issue permanently by continuing the phase 2 project of the Kusu stretch of the
Sea Defense project. There were promises made last year. In fact, I recall the minority insisting that it be captured in the budget statement prior to approval. What has happened after that? Because the minority was insistent, and so the government heeded to the calls. Is it the case that nothing has been done after that?
Nothing has been done because we advocate seriously on the floor of Parliament for government to start doing something about this problem. And the Minister of Finance came in to allocate 10 million Ghana cedis for feasibility study. Meanwhile, feasibility study have been done already. So doing another feasibility study, that is the state in which we are. Instead of government committing that resources into phase 2 project of the Blekusu stretch all the way to Aflau border, where the sea defense, they provide sea defense, that will be a permanent solution. But we are doing knee-jerk reaction. When the problem comes, we talk about it, government pretend as if they are doing something to the solution. At the end of the day, then another year it occurs again. So to be truthful to you, the government is not committed in terms of fixing the problem of tidal wave issues in Keta, Ketu South, and Ango constituencies.
Just finally, though, what is the situation with the persons who've been caught up in this? Have they received some support in any way or form?
As I speak to you right now, there is no support coming to the indigents as I speak to you. NADMO is taking stock. The MC is aware, and then the NADMO is here to come to the aid of the people to take stocks of various things. And then based on that, if any resources or any relief item will come. Last year, NADMO came to do the assessment. At the end of the day, it is through your outfit, TV3, and then through benevolent NGOs, corporate Ghana, and then some indigents who came to the aid of the people. But the government commitment, we are not seeing. Last year, the government brought only 100 bags of rice and then maize. That was it. And then, by law, 5% of common funds supposed every quarter to be given to NADMO for each operations. But government is broke. Government is broke. There is no money coming to NADMO. So when you approach them, you go to their offices, they fold their arms because there is no resources to act, and that resources is mandatory.
Right then.
And that is where the problem is also.
Right then, Honorable. I appreciate that you could speak to us this afternoon. That's the Member of Parliament for Keta, Kwame Jujoli Gakwe, speaking to us this afternoon on the unfortunate incident of yet another tidal wave incident. The resident affected, like you heard him say, no support coming through. The government released some... not released, but had 10 million cedis quoted in the budget last year for feasibility studies. But it appears that's just where it's all ended in terms of the sea defense project. We'll move away from this, and a coalition of media groupings is demanding the immediate repeal of Section 76 of the Electronic Communications Act and 208 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act. According to the group, which includes the Ghana Journalists Association, growing criminalization of free speech in the country has become worrying. Here is a report I put together. The latest demand by the coalition follows an earlier petition by the Media Foundation for West Africa to the Attorney General over similar concerns last year following a rise in the arrests of journalists across the country. Journalists and activists arrested in the last 2 years have been picked up based on the two provisions. Section 76 of the Electronic Communications Law and 208 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act. The arrest of Radio Adan journalist Noah Dame, according to the group made up of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association of Ghana, the Ghana Journalists Association of Ghana, the Media Foundation for West Africa, and the Private Newspaper Publishers Association of Ghana, becomes one too many of the criminalization of speeches by journalists. Addressing a news conference, President of the Ghana Journalists Association, Albert Jumfor, said failure to repeal the laws would worsen the country's press freedom index.
The victims of the erstwhile criminal libel law were also dealt with in line with the law. Indeed, many of the world's intolerant and autocratic governments typically deal with decent and press offenses by exploiting the law. Hence, our call for a repeal of these two laws. We are also much aware that the recent detention of Noah Dame has been picked by the Reporters Without Borders, and that may consequently affect our ranking in the coming days.
Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, for his part, called out the president on his position on the two laws in the past.
As the offense of publishing false news, therefore, currently stands, it is, in my view, inconsistent with the constitutional provisions on free expression being overly broad, accordingly not proportionate to the legitimate public interest sought to be protected by our freedom of expression provisions in our constitution. I am basically speaking in a different voice, but saying what President Akufo-Addo said. So the question to ask is, what has changed?
Attacks on free speech form part of worrying details captured in the 2023 U.S. State Department report, and with World Press Freedom Day on the horizon, media watchers fear Ghana may decline even further. A news desk report there, and away from this, the Omanhene of the Ogwa traditional area, Sabari Makwesiata II, has charged politicians to make job creation a top priority to reduce unemployment in the country. According to him, the high rate of unemployment in Ghana is alarming, especially when the youth get all the needed education and still have no jobs. Sabari Makwesiata II made the observation when NPP flag bearer hopeful Alan Chemantin paid a courtesy call on him at the Imentimadze Palace in Cape Coast as part of his campaign tour.
Since you're you don't hear and we're Ghana, papa. Here come officer. Ibinuma, why one masters? Application letters be Kumopondo. Well, yeah, you man here. Graduate teachers. One in them kindergarten, no child. You know, oh yeah, background.
So that's Osabere Makwesiata II speaking there, essentially saying that a lot of graduates are not getting jobs after the education. Reacting to this, Alan Chemantin said he intends to make industrialization a priority when he becomes president.
Says ya Ghana, Yajina Dua, Yewuma. I took Kuro here on my Ghana. On your corner, but for that, Ejuma of Ghana. Tis a name. So I but there you shall be. Emma, with the Ghana name, say, area president. So we need Juma. No, there, at this year, what pay going in a Yasha Juma Waye, near Obia Oba, Obotum Shepa, Ama Ejuma Wabagana.
Alan Chemantin speaking there as part of his campaign tour of the Central Region, ending this afternoon's edition of the news here on 3FM 92.7. Before we go, though, on the international front, the UK's Deputy Prime Minister has resigned. And that's the latest that's come into Dominic Raab's behavior and a report which looked at complaints made during his time at the Ministry of Justice. That's the latest on the international front. Nana Mensah Abrampa is on standby to bring us the very latest from the world of business. I am Eric Mawuena Egbeta.
And this is Business Daily. Good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us. Coming up this afternoon, Cocoa Board initiates measures to support the country's largest cocoa buying company, PBC, amidst concerns over possible collapse. And analysts predict further increase in interest rates on treasury bills, even as government targets to raise about 1.96 billion cedis today on the domestic market. We have all the details in the next 10. Please stay. Thank you for your time. My name is Nana Mensah Abrampa. Let's get to the details as PBC has faced significant challenges resulting in losses to its market share from over 30% to nearly 8% over the last 5 years. In January last year, the management of the company hinted at downsizing its staff because it was unable to meet financial and operational obligations to its workers. The company, according to reports, is now faced with huge debts and falling revenue. So what exactly has accounted for the weak position of the country's biggest indigenous cocoa buying company? Kofi Che is executive director of the Young Investors Network.
It is the only licensed buying company that is state-owned. The company
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7, 3 FM. Accra.
All right, so we're bringing you that, and as part of efforts to bring the company back on its feet, Cocoa Board, together with SIGA and Ministry of Finance, have given PBC seed funds to enable them secure money for their activities.
It is the only licensed buying company that is state-owned. The company has had its own challenges in recent past, and it's difficult for them to raise revenue through the banks, so they are solely relying on Cocoa Board seed fund for their operations, and realizing that even with the seed funds, it's difficult for them to issue guarantee for the funds to be released to them. So Cocoa Board, SIGA, and Ministry of Finance has come together. They've come together to ensure that yes, we are able to provide them with the seed funds without the guarantee. Of course, issuing the guarantee from the bank come at a cost. So we take out that cost that they are supposed to handle, as well as also ensuring that they have funds to go to the communities and buy cocoa from the cocoa farmers. So that's the kind of arrangement we have put in place at this point.
Meanwhile, Ghana Cocoa Board will end with phase 1 of the Cocoa Farmers Pension Scheme by the end of April 2023. The scheme was designed for farmers to contribute 5% of the produce sold at the cocoa shed, out of which Cocoa Board also contributes 1%. According to the Public Affairs Manager of Cocoa Board, Fifi Boafo, 70% of the farmers within the 15 districts of the scheme have opted to contribute more than the mandatory 5% contributions.
The participation of the farmers is something to be excited about. And the interesting bit is that about 70% of the farmers are opting to contribute more than the 5% mandatory contribution. The mandatory contribution of the farmer is 5%, and these farmers are opting to contribute more because they believe that it is the only existing arrangement that will provide them a decent retirement. And if there's something that will provide them a decent retirement, there's every reason for them to contribute more than the 5%. I think during the sensitization, most of them realized also that because of their age, the age bracket of most farmers are beyond 40. So they have a limited number of years to contribute before they go on retirement. So there's every reason for them to put in their best effort at this opportunity to guarantee them that period. The relatively younger ones are also of the view that yes, if you compare those who are in public service, even though they might contribute to SNID, but they have other avenues of also ensuring that they have a decent retirement.
And that was Fifi Boafo, Public Affairs Manager at Cocoa Board. Well, the phase 2 of the scheme will rope in more farmers from about 55 districts. Away from cocoa and matters arising, analysts are predicting a further increase in interest rate on treasury bills, even as government targets to raise about 1.96 billion cedis today on the domestic market. This will be done through the issuance of 91, 82, and 364-day T-bills. Proceeds from the auction will partly be used to refinance maturing bills worth 1.75 billion cedis. There have been concerns about increased government borrowing on the